This video has been made as part of the Remembrance Day collaboration being organised by a group of crafty friends of mine. So I'll put you the link for the collaboration playlist because there'll be a whole bunch of Remembrance Sunday themed videos. I'll put that link down in the video description below, and it will also pop up here at the end of this video. It is very much in remembrance of all of those who've lost their lives fighting for freedom and peace, and with their thanks to them all. Those of you who are kind enough to buy me a coffee during my videos, please be aware that the ones that come through as a result of this video, if you put the word poppy in your comments when you send the donation, it will 100% be donated to the Poppy Appeal. I was hoping the pyramid would be even bigger so as I could get like a whole spray of them in there, but I think I will still be able to get quite a few in there. So we'll look at those once we've started to get our resin on the go. So what we're going to need then is obviously the poppies. Secondly, we'll need a mould. Now this pyramid mould, this is the biggest I could find just sort of commercially available without too huge an expense. If anybody knows where I can get a real whopper from that's about 4 times this size, please let me know because I will have a go. Now, these sort of moulds, because they are, let's zoom you out a bit, because it's quite big and it's because it's flippy floppy, when you fill that with resin, it's going to push the sides out. It's just going to go out of shape. So they come with this little former. Now, the ones like this that I've had in the past, the former tends to be, the support tends to be opaque. Well, this one's actually, let's get it right to the point, this one's actually clear, which is just brilliant because that means I can see what is going on in the mould. So that's a handy bonus with this one. I'll put you the links for everything I'm using down in the video description as usual. So here's our resin. It's Apex Deep Cast and it's a 2-parter as usual. It is an epoxy. You can go up to 30 centimetres, which is more than this. So really good. 30 centimetres, that's a foot. That's a lot. It's a 2-parter as you can see, but as the size of the bottle is probably the giveaway, it's a 2-to-1. Now, I notoriously do not measure my resin. So, because I do it just by, I kind of eyeball it, I suppose. But I don't know. Do I really? I don't know. There's an easy way to do it, and this is what I do. So whether you call this eyeballing or not, I don't know. If it's 2-to-1, 3 cups, 2 of those, 1 of those. How easy is that? Right, I'm going to get this mixed up and then I'll show you what it looks like while it's mixing, and I definitely need to zoom out, don't I? Oh dear, you're going to see all the clutter around here. It's a right mess in the bathroom. Anyway, here we go. As you can probably hear, I'm breaking these bottles open. These are new bottles. And what I'll be doing is putting pumps into the tops of the bottles. You can get these pumps from Just For You online, the same place as you get the resin from. Don't forget I've got a discount code for the resin. Which you need, obviously, is quite useful because you need quite a lot for doing this with. There we go. I just find I put the sticking pump tops on these, so all your resining a bit less messy. Obviously, I've already opened this one at some point. It's just easier because they sometimes don't pop if you don't do that. Right. So, yeah, here we go. We're going to need, and this is very runny. Look how runny that is. A normal depth of cast resin won't go that thin. Anyway, this is going to take me a while to fill it up, but there's method in my madness. This is a lot less messy. So, I'll be back with you in a second. You can, of course, just pour it, as normal people do. I just like the mess-free nature of using pumps. There, so as you can see, we've got about the same amount in each of these. Now, I've only got a couple of little bubbles come up. I have got my bubble remover handy just in case, but because this resin is such a low viscosity, it's really runny, then the bubbles come out exceptionally well, even easier than they do with the other Apex resins that I use. So this is going to be nice and easy. You see, there's hardly any bubbles in there already. I am going to probably, once I've got this mixed, I am going to run it through my debubbling machine. I don't usually have problems with bubbles with this brand of resin anyway, but because we're doing a big pyramid, I'm going to be very belt and braces on this. I have actually got some measuring cups. I mean, those of you who like to do it properly, feel free to actually measure it. But the numbers and things don't mean a lot to me, I'm afraid. So I just do it like this. Now, the only trick you need to remember here is to make sure that all of the resin comes out of your cup. This is the hardener. It's really, really runny. But as long as all of it comes out of your cup, then you know you have got equal amounts. There we go. That's the hardener. Here's the actual resins. Now, because I'm going to put this in the debubbling machine, I'm not going to fill the cup quite to the top. This is pushing my luck a bit, to be fair. Because, of course, as it bubbles up, it's a vacuum chamber, basically. So as it bubbles up, it could go up over the top of the little pot. I know I'm going to have to mix more up, but this will get me started. So I'm going to show you some tricks for avoiding getting bubbles trapped in flowers. And think, well, silk flowers, funky inclusions. Works with dried flowers as well to help to minimise. Now, even though my debubbling machine is quite a hefty, sizable one, this whole pyramid is not going to fit in it. Sometimes I do put the whole mould in there with the resin already in it. So for those moulds where you've got like awkward nooks and crannies, that's a really great thing to do because it will suck out the bubbles out of those little awkward nooks and crannies. Obviously you can't do it when the mould is full because it'll froth over the top. So I tend to like 3/4 fill them and then do it. Now people have said, oh, let's resin say you can't put your moulds with the resin inside the vacuum chamber. They don't say that. They just don't recommend it simply because the results on that can vary. And obviously if you do fill it up, it will froth over the top. So the results do vary, but you won't do any harm by trying it. So if you want to test it out with your moulds, go for it. But I have actually specifically asked them for the lowdown on that because I was criticised quite heavily for suggesting this on a previous video. So straight from the horse's mouth, they said that the only reason they don't recommend it is simply because the results can vary by doing that. So it's one of those things. Experiment with, dears friends. Just experiment. Right, so that's one lot of resin. Now, another trick for not getting bubbles, you can use those stirring machines. I know some people like those. I've got several and I just don't use them. The trick I use really is to use one, a very good quality resin to start with that debubbles easily, which most of the main brands will. And two, stir it really slowly, which is very alien to me. I invariably stir too fast normally. But the deep cast one, because it's such low viscosity, that's much runnier than a normal one. Even though it's quite cool in this room today, that will mix really easily without causing too many bubbles. And what bubbles are in there will just come wafting out of their own accord to a great extent. You can, of course, warm your 2 parts of your resin by putting it in warm water baths. I am about to have one of the actual pre-warmers on test, so a proper powered one that will be set to just the right temperature. So I'll be testing that for you soon. I'll keep you posted on that one. Anyway, you don't want to sit there and watch me stirring this, do you? I'll be back in a few minutes. I am going to put it in my debubbling machine, so I'll show you what happens when I put it in there. We'll see if this cup will fit, because my old one, it would not have fitted. So it's still stirring away. Big pot this, so it's taking a long time to stir. You can see it's still got that smoky look to it. Look, can you see there's like stringy lines in it still? That's how I know it's not fully stirred yet. So I'm just going to keep going. Now the other thing you'll notice about this video is there are no adverts running on it. None at all. I have chosen to demonetize this video. I just felt like this was the way to do this video, in view of the nature of the collaboration. Okay, so that's nearly all mixed up now. I think what I'm going to do is, it's starting to clear, so I think we're nearly there, but I'm going to put it through my little debubbling machine. Here it comes. Oh, hang on, is it plugged in? Is everything going to come falling down on me? Probably. There we are. Here we go. There's my little debubbling machine. I'll bring the camera down to the side so you can see what's going on once we get this going. Look up this big fit. Have I put too much resin in it? Will it boil over? Gosh, yes. See, my old... You could have got away with a slightly bigger one. My old debubbling machine would not have handled that. Right, I'm going to switch this on and then I'll bring you down to the side so you can see what's going on. I'm going to put it on for 15 minutes. This resin, because it is a deep cast one, it's got a huge amount of work time. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 days to cure. And I'm not sure it'll fit in my new curing machine either, because that pyramid is way too big. Anyway, let's get this going. I'm going to put it on 15 minutes, which is its maximum, and I'll bring you down so you can see what's going on. And you can hear it making its happy noises. So the pressure gauge is going nicely away there. I can't bring my phone much closer because the mic cable might get in the way, but there we go. You can see now, can't you think? And let's see what's going on with the resin. As the pressure's working away, the bubbles should start to rise. Doing this machine, it's a definite upgrade on my old one. Right, the pressure's coming down, so the bubbles are starting to move. We'll come back to it in a moment when it starts to get exciting, but you can see them starting to pop already. And there weren't that many bubbles in there to start with, to be fair, were there? Look at this. There weren't that many bubbles in there to start with, I didn't think. I mean, I hadn't stirred as slowly as I might because I wasn't actually that worried, because I knew this would finish it off anyway. And to be fair, a low viscosity resin like this does degas very, very well anyway. But look at them all working their way up, and look at the top. Awesome. And they're getting less and less and less. Right, we're back in for a couple of minutes. This should all be done. Okay, it's switched itself off. You can hear it releasing its own gases. It does it. Sorry, you can hear it releasing its own pressure. It does that all on its own. You don't need to release any silly little flap things that you then forget to do up. And yeah, it just does it on its own. And look at that. Tiny couple of little bubbles up on the surface, which I can pop with my long neck torch. Isn't that awesome? Right, I'm mixing up another batch here. You'll see why in a minute. And yeah, so I'll be back within a second once this is all degassed and I can finish doing what I'm doing. So I've got 2 pots of resin on the go. I haven't been quite as fussy about the bubbles on this one because this is the one I'm going to be dipping my flowers in to reduce the bubbles that they trap. I hope this is making sense. Hang on. Anyway, I've been doing a bit of doctoring on the flowers because the gap between the flowers themselves is too big. They're all quite tall like this, which is lovely, but I wanted, obviously, I'm only going to get so much in here. So what I've done is I've cut them down and I've done a bit of gluing and then realised I've actually got some florist's tape somewhere, which will make a much neater job than I've done there. So we're just going to go around with some florist's tape just to neaten up where I've kind of made a right dog's dinner of shortening them down, which I just did by cutting them off and then rebunching them back together. So I'm just going to do that. Now, you're not going to see most of this stem anyway because it'll stick out the bottom of the pyramid. So this is mostly just to hold them together, but to mean that any bits you do see that still, I mean, the top bit might still end up inside the pyramid, look a little bit tidier. So it's just that weird wax tape stuff that florists use. Go back down again. It's like, it's got no kind of adhesive on it. It's almost stretchy. It's like a weird papery stuff, but it's a bit stretchy. And then it's, I think it's got wax in it, so it just sort of sticks to itself from the heat of your hands. Really odd stuff. Anyway, that's going to make it a bit easier to just keep it all together and looking tidy. So there we are. Put that away. Now, obviously, we're going to want to pour some resin into our pyramid. So let's put that to one side. And this is the initial resin we're going to be using. And let me zoom you in on what happens in the point of the pyramid, because these pyramids are pesky. And I'll show you what I mean by pesky. Now, this is a brand new mould, so I want to be careful not to scratch it. And also, we don't want to introduce more bubbles again as we pour. So I'm tipping it to one side so it can flow down. I might have almost enough resin here, actually. I wasn't sure we would, but anyway. Now, when I say pesky, look at that bubble stuck in the bottom. Blooming thing. So, what I'm going to do is just get in there and tease it out. Now, that invariably happens. So the bubbles come up. That invariably happens with pyramids. So I tend to, I've only ever done one this big before, and it was an utter fail because I was using the wrong resin. It was when I first started out, and it just really wasn't that good at all. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know there was deep cast resin, and I did it in layers, which made things better, but it still wasn't great at all. I ended up with loads of bubbles, and bits of it flash cured. It was a right pain. I do know that you always end up with a bubble stuck in a point. Let's pour a bit more in. Again, we're going to pour it down the side, let it flow. And what I've just cleaned up the sides with there was a silicone brush. You can use a micro brush and things like that as well. Just be careful not to scratch your mould, because I said this is a brand new mould. Now, your flowers can trap bubbles. If you just push this in here, they're going to trap bubbles. And also, this stem is miles too long. So I'm just going to get my little precision cutter and chop it down a bit. I say miles too long, it wouldn't normally matter, but I've got my camera in the way. It's going to be poking you in the eye, isn't it? Right. So I am going to cut it so as it's well longer than is needed for the pyramid, though, because we're obviously going to need to be able to support it, aren't we? Now, our next job then is to dip the flowers. And the reason we do this is to just get the worst of the bubbles out. by the way. I've got to decide what colour to put on the bottom first. Then I've got to show you something that this lovely lady I met at the NEC came up with. You probably know I had 4 days at the Creative Craft Show and Simply Christmas this week. And yes, one of the ladies on the make and take workshop I was helping to run gave me this wonderful idea, which I've kind of modified a little bit from her original suggestion, but pretty much it's her idea. Let's check her name. I've written it down somewhere. Was it Sarah? Oh, I can't remember. Go with S. Sharon? Sarah? Can't remember. Anyway, so I'm going to put these in and hope that having dipped them so thoroughly, that will prevent excessive bubbles. Now we are probably going to get 1 or 2. You can see there's some coming up anyway. I'm going to give it a jiggle to try to release those. And now I need to try and brace this so it stays in position, because it's just going to keep falling over, isn't it? So I've got some barbecue skewers and I've got some painter's tape, and we're going to make a little frame. As I'm moving it round to do this, it's of course releasing some of the bubbles, some more bubbles as well. But the resin itself should have no bubbles at all in from doing this. It's just, purely what's got trapped in the flowers. So we're going to tape this end of the 2 barbecue skewers together. They're just bamboo skewers. I use these for all sorts of funny things. If you're using a smaller mould, of course, you could use lollipop sticks, things like that. I might need to lift that up a little bit because it's going to be pressed against. It's going to be pressed against the silicone of the mould a little bit. But let's at least get this initial framework done. If it insists on sliding side to side that way, I could actually stick another 2 barbecue skewers that way too. But I don't think I'm going to need to. Right, now this is where we do a little bit of adjusting. I think I need to pull them up just a little bit. So it's not actually against the mould. Might be a little bit, but I don't mind a little bit. Okay, let's liberate this leaf and this leaf and put it back in. There we are, because obviously we're going to be losing these skewers at some point. I think that's fairly upright. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it does want to be pretty good. Now, I'm going to put that last bit of resin back through my debubbling machine. We're going to fill it up. It can all be done in one layer, in one pour, simply because this is a proper deep cast resin. And it's specifically designed to do this. So, I'll be back in a moment and we'll do that last pour. Here we go. Just going to pour the last bit in. I did notice that I've got some little bits of the fabric from the poppies on mixed in with it. So I've scooped those out. But we're just going to fill it up. Now, I'm not going to go quite to the top because I'm going to want to put a base on it, which I'm still thinking about. Because that'll hide where I've trimmed off the edges of these flowers, the stems. I'm currently thinking black, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Still thinking. I know, I'm going to ask you lot. I'm going to put a question in my community tab and see what all you lovely viewers think. And I'm going to go and do that in about 10 minutes, which means you'll know exactly when this was filmed, won't you? And what will normally happen is that a load of people reply on there and some people email me, and anyway, I'll decide. I think green would be a bit much. I'm wondering black with just a little bit of similar subtle shimmer in it, because that would set off the red so well, rather than silver or gold or another colour. I don't know. I'll come and see what you think. Right. I'm going to put this just a little bit deeper. I am just going to put just another couple of millimeters. Millimeters? Yeah, just a tiny little bit more in. I want to end up with about 1 centimetre left, I think, at the bottom. So I'll do that. I'll go and I'll put that message on so you can all tell me what you think. And then by the end of this video, those of you who had an input into it will be able to see what we went with. Okay, catch you later. Right. Most deep cast resins take 48 to 72 hours to cure. This one is 16 to 48, depending on how warm your room is, of course. So this one has cured overnight. And as you can hear, that's rock hard. So we're just going to take these away and get the tape undone. because that is sorted. Now our next job is going to be to get them out of it. There's one. This one is stuck to the stick. Doesn't matter because I'm going to have to be trimming everything off from this layer. You've all been voting on, or rather posting your thoughts on what colour I should do the back. And there's been some great ideas. There's been all sorts coming in. But I think the majority seem to be on the lines of the black and gold. And it seems to be pretty much a 50-50 split. So we're going to be doing a bit of both, guys. We are. Right. So just snipping all of this away as best I can. It's going to be a bit messy. Doesn't matter. Like I said, we're going to lose a lot of this into the last layer. And so we are going to be combining red and black. Now, do hang in with me because there is that finishing touch that I mentioned before, that the nice lady I met at the NEC, that idea she gave me. Now, looking at the resin so far, I think I've got a tiny bit of colour has actually come out of the poppies, which is giving it a slight red shimmer. I actually don't mind that. We'll see what it looks like. And it looks like there are just still a couple of little bubbles that I missed. Now, the ones on this surface won't matter, but there's a couple against the silica, actually against the mould, but it's very minimal, so I'm not going to lose any sleep with it. Right, let's get some gloves sorted and mask, etc. Right, so, yeah, we're going to do a combination of black and gold. Here comes the black. Just a tiny dot of pigment paste. This is very intense because it's pigment paste. That will be more than enough. And then in the other one, we're going with the gold. Now, I'm hoping this is following my messing about with the colours and pigments. All the pigments and the sparkle from Create and Bloom in a recent video. I'm hoping I can get a black blending into sparkle. So let's mix the black in first. As you can see, just that tiny amount has done it. That's a lot of colour in there. So the pigment paste, it's a really thick one, is from Just For You Online. It's just called Jet Black. Look at the state of my pot. You can see how much I use this, can't you? Yeah, I have tried to clean it. Look, and now it's all over my hand. Okay, with the Wonder Wipes. Not that I'm worried about my gloves, it's just that that's going to get all over everything else, isn't it? You can see once you start putting pigment pastes and things into your resin, it kind of degasses anyway, so I'm not going to worry about putting it through the debubbling machine. Right, this is the shimmer. It's a pigment. Mica I don't quite know what you'd call it. Officially it's mica powder, but to me it's more than a mica powder. Look at that sparkle. In fact, I think I'll put a bit more in. And I think that is going to set off these poppies really nicely. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? It's like a champagne gold, and then when you put it in the pot, it goes like a more goldy gold. Look at that. So what I'm thinking is if I put that round the edge and the black in the middle and see if they'll kind of blend but still have a blacker centre and a golder outside. I'm using the Apex High Gloss resin for this, by the way. So this will take, I don't know, a few hours to cure. Depends how warm it is in here, I haven't checked. But it will take a few hours. And I'm just hoping that I've got enough resin here. So I'm going to pour around the edge initially. Put the sticks down. Looks like I have. I mean, I've filled it up, so it's only got like about a centimetre to the top anyway. Trying to get roughly an even amount around each side. Bring it in like that. And then we're just going to tip the black in the centre, which will initially push it out, and then I don't know what will happen. Oh, look, I might need a little bit more of the black. Just a bit. Now it's going over to that side slightly, so I'm coming over this way a bit with my pour. It doesn't need to be bang on central, of course, but it would be nice if it was somewhere vaguely about right. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit more in the centre, because obviously we do want it to... We do want this filled. I don't want to end up having to sand edges. Okay, so I think we're nearly there. I'm just mixing a little bit of it at a time so I can see where this is going. I do want to try and keep it sort of central. I don't know what this is doing on the other side, of course, because that's what we're going to see. But I didn't want anything too fussy, because I didn't want it to detract from the beautiful poppies, which I am actually wishing I'd put, like, packed more poppies in there around the base, but hey, we'll see what happens. Okay, everyone, I think we're there. I now need to leave this to cure. I'll let the whole thing go for 24 hours, I think, because I need this to be absolutely solid. And then I'll show you what we do with that extra little idea that lovely lady that I met gave me. So I'll see you later. On fields where crimson poppies sway, in silent rows where heroes lay, we bow our heads, recall their fight, who faced the dark to bring us light. Through storms of fire they stood so strong, to guard the peace for which we long. In every petal's scarlet glow, the weight of sacrifice we know. Let not their courage fade with time, nor memory's bell refuse to chime. With hearts of honour we declare their gift of peace beyond compare. So as the poppies bloom once more, we vow to keep what they fought for. To walk in peace, both true and free, their legacy, our unity. Right, I demoulded the little extras. I love these. Some of my favourite moulds of the year. Anyway, that was the from the drips. Right, I've got this out of the mould support. Let's see, there's a couple of lumpies on the side. I hope the whole pyramid is still in shape. After all that, would be nice, wouldn't it? By the way, thank you all for your input. I went with black and gold in the end, which has made it rather dark. Well, from that side it has. Oh, I say. Oh, nice. I had got a couple of bubbles, but on the whole, that is pretty darn clear. Let's get a bit of paper and put behind it so you can see how clear it is. It's got like a smoky look to it. That must be the red that came out of the poppies. And I'm kind of almost wishing I hadn't put the black in the bottom now. It's made it darker, hasn't it? But it depends where you view it from. Although it's right. I do like it. I do like it a lot. Right, now, the flowers. They have solidified. They're slightly bendy, but not much. I push them back into shape a little bit. Right, I'll show you what I'm going to do with those. And this, as I said, was that lovely lady that I met. Idea. I do hope she gets back to me and reminds me who she is so I can get credit her properly for the idea. Right, back in a bit. Right, we've got our pyramid. I'm still a little bit disappointed that it's gone a little bit dark and smoky, but I think it's beautiful anyway. So yeah, I'm going to now put some poppies on the outside. So this was the idea that lady came up with. So we're going to cut some of these down. So what we're going to do is cut these off, and I'm going to cut them quite near the base. You can see they've gone quite nice and rigid. I did a leaf as well. I'll leave that on the stalk because I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with it yet. I'm cutting these off quite high up. Of course, because they've been soaked in resin, the bits of the petals and everything aren't just all going to fall off, because that, I think, would have happened if I'd done this before I resined them. And there we go. And I've got my UV glue, which I'm running out of and need some more. Got a torch. And I think I'm going to put them this corner here. So it's as simple as this. We're going to make sure we've got a nice clean cut so as it'll stick it easier. And so, yeah, I'm going to need to put my glue there. Yeah, I need to order some more of this. Quite a decent blob, so it'll definitely stick. Get my torch in behind it. As you know, this is the UV glue that cures in like 5 seconds. So let's just make sure I've got my torch all the way around. I'm done. There we go. And where they touch here, I'm going to put a dot as well, but let's get that one cured first. I'm just going to put the tiniest dot just where you can barely see it. Well, the idea is that you won't see it. There we are. Because that'll give it extra strength as well. And so on. So I'm just going to decide where to put the rest. Then what we'll do, we'll get the lighting better so we can see this, and we'll take some photos. By the way, this is going to be donated to a local cause. I was thinking of auctioning it for the poppy appeal, but I can't actually find out how to do that within all the various rules, regulations and everything else. So yeah, I'm going to donate it to a local cause. Don't forget any buying me of coffees and super thankses during the making of the showing of this video. If you put Poppy in the sort of comments thing for it, then I will know that it's a donation for the Poppy Appeal, which for anybody who is outside of the UK, just to let you know that is our kind of charity for veterans and so on. One of. We have several, but that is the one that this celebrates. Okay, and as you can see, I've just flipped it over now because we're just going to put an extra little bit of glue underneath to make sure, especially as this one came away from the pyramid rather. So I just want to get a little bit of extra glue in here and there just to make sure he's secure. And I've got a different UV lamp on the go that's somewhat stronger. It's one of these clip on the edge of the desk ones. I've got a new one. My old one's still going strong, but it is screwed to the windowsill in the craft room, and we are now in the kitchen. You may have noticed the change of venue. Right, okay folks, so as I said earlier, don't forget that the proceeds from this video will be going to the Poppy Appeal, which is the Royal British Legion's appeal for each year. And so there will be no adverts running on this video, I don't think. I'm certainly going to set it so it doesn't monetize. So all donations gratefully received. Now don't forget as well, it's part of a Dirty Great Big collaboration. There's a bunch of people making videos on a similar basis. So please do check out the rest of the playlist. The videos there'll be a link appearing up here shortly. So go and check that out. Now I'm going to flip this back over. I'm going to sort out some slightly better lighting and take some photos for you. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll look forward to seeing you for the next video. Bye.